Good morning. A movie that I loved, a musical that I loved growing up, and not because it's all happy, is Fiddler on the Roof. And there's this marvelous scene between Tevye and his wife. I know you remember it. It's classic. And he wants to know if she loves him. And she comes back and says, after 25 years, I've washed your clothes, I've sewn your clothes, I've cooked your meals, I've warmed your bed. 25 years. And you want to know if I love you. And Tevye goes, yes. Do you love me? A number of years ago, a book was written about the 5 love languages, the ways that people receive love and offer love. And the idea, of course, was to try and help folks communicate a little bit better, so that if they were slaving around the house, like Tevye's wife, doing what she thought was loving expressions for her husband, and yet all he wanted were words of kindness and affection. Do you love me? Now, as secular as that sounds, truly there's wisdom here in both of these examples. We are created by a God of love. This God not only loves us, but has created us out of the essence of love. The core spirit of this divine God is love. It is a selfless, generating reality, not just a feeling, not just an emotion. And it's important for us to pay attention to what do we understand by love humanly. How do I receive love? What expresses love to me? And if I just think of God as sitting up on a souped-up cloud in heaven somewhere, pulling my strings, I may not receive the acts that God is sending to me as loving, the things that are happening in my life as loving. We hear often that God loves us exactly as we are. No need to change. We are unconditionally loved from the moment we gasp our first breath at birth to the moment we gasp our last and lay down our lives. And yet, true love also seeks the best for the other partner. So it's not quite the same as a husband and wife wanting to change things about their spouse, but what God longs for is a deepening in relationship, an intimacy that you and I have never dreamt of before, a way of being loved that blows our minds and stops our hearts. I have a companion, a friend, who talks to me now and again about her spiritual life. And she said she just longs to be held by God the way she would be held by her spouse. Just this warm embrace. And there is a little tug of war in us as human beings that we only know certain expressions as human beings. Love with skin on. So the love that God will express to us is different. And if we only long for human expressions of love from a divine God, we are severely tying God's hands, holding God hostage to our idea of love. So the creative thing, the smart thing, the loving thing for me to do, for you to do, is to spend time with God during the day, paying attention to how might God be loving me in this moment. Who has God sent me to answer a question? What idea has popped into my head to solve a problem? What song do I hear in my heart or on the radio that consoles me deeply? And to track that like a sleuth back to the God who loves you. These are expressions of God's love for us in ways that we can receive if our eyes are open. We can say, "Do you love me?" And God will answer in the affirmative. We just have to look.